If you want to understand China, you have to understand what keeps them up at night. That would be the First Island Chain. It's a group of islands surrounding China in the Western Pacific that are either US allies or allow the US access to their bases. It is the modern Great Wall of China, except this time it's not used to keep the Mongols out, it's used to keep the Chinese in. If any one of the nodes in the First Island Chain breaks, China gets access to the Greater Pacific. And most crucially, Taiwan is officially a part of China, but buys a lot of US weapons. The US doesn't give a shit if Taiwan is a democracy. Taiwan could be a banana republic dictatorship and the United States would still supply weapons to it. Now, the only reason that China hasn't attempted to displace the United States already is because the US can use the First Island Chain to stop China's energy imports, particularly oil, and food imports as well. So if you're China, how do you reduce your vulnerability to the First Island Chain? Step 1, you make yourself the biggest renewables producer on Earth. This eliminates your strategic vulnerability on oil, and then you make yourself an even larger food producer by introducing GMOs and automation in agriculture. China is doing both of those things already. Step 2, the only reason the United States can maintain this strategic position in the First Island Chain is because it takes on a lot of debt to fund its military. So if you're China, you want to try and put pressure on US debt however you can so that it becomes progressively more expensive and eventually just not worth it for the United States to stay in the South China Sea. You can split this into 3 parts. A, you fund Russia's war in Ukraine, which sends US and European resources to Europe instead of to the Western Pacific. B, you build more ships than anybody else combined, you build more missiles than anybody else combined, and you build a wall of islands in front of their wall, so their wall isn't that effective anymore. And if the US wants to maintain its dominant position despite all of those things, it has to spend even more money that it doesn't have. But the US doesn't need money that it doesn't have because it's the global reserve currency. It can keep taking on endless debt at low interest rates. So if you're China, you want to try and put pressure on that too. You start forums like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization or support forums like the BRICS in order to encourage countries to de-dollarize and to buy gold and to use alternative forums so that the dollar is no longer as attractive and the United States has to pay more interest to maintain its forward military posture. And of course, you do everything you can to make the United States look less stable. You use Trojan horse apps like TikTok to foment division within American society. You continue to subsidize your manufacturing to eliminate United States manufacturing to increase wealth inequality in that country so that their politics becomes even less stable. China is already full steam ahead on all of those fronts, and that is the Chinese grand strategy. In the next video, I'll talk about how the United States has a couple of choices and how it wants to deal with this going forward. Only one of these pieces in the First Island Chain has to fall before China enters the second phase of its grand strategy, which is global domination. My train's here. See you next time.